Hi guys, in today's video I'm going to be giving you my quarter 3 update of my Vanguard portfolio. Thanks for visiting my channel Free Your Finance. My name's Gary and I talk about investing, property and financial independence. If this sounds like something you may be interested in watching more about, please hit the subscribe button below. So can you believe it has been over 3 months since I shared my last update? I can't believe how fast this year is going past. It's quite scary. I think with COVID going on and being in lockdown, every day has sort of rolled into each other. Anyway, into today's video we're going to be sharing how my portfolio is performing. First of all, I'm going to give you a recap of what funds I hold and how they had performed in the last update. Please bear in mind that in my last update it was from the inception of my portfolio on the 2nd of September 2019 through to the 27th of June 2020. So during this period you can see I had made a rate of return of 10.17%, which I was really chuffed about, especially after what we went through in February-March time with the drops in the market. I had 6 holdings during that time and the first one was cash. So during that time I had made 1.52% on the cash that was held within my ISA. I don't quite understand how Vanguard pay interest on the cash held in your ISA. I have actually spoken to them about it and tried to get clarification, and they explained to me that basically you get paid 0.5% on any cash held in your account. Now of course most of the time when I have spare cash in my account I move it straight on and invest it back into one of my funds. The fact they told me we get paid 0.5% interest on any cash held makes me a little confused how I earn 1.52%, but I am not complaining. The first fund that I held was the Emerging Markets Stock Index Fund, and this is the accumulation fund, which means the dividends it earns are automatically reinvested for me. This fund makes up less than 2% of my total portfolio. I did like the idea of having a fund solely in emerging markets because I believe some of the countries within the emerging markets class have really great potential of growth. It is only a bit of play money, so to speak, and that is reflected by the fact it only makes up 2% of my portfolio. However, on the previous update it had made me 0.46%. The next fund I held was the FTSE All World High Dividend Yield. The ticker symbol is VHYL. This fund is of quite large established companies that concentrate on paying a good dividend. Last time I looked, the dividend yield is over 4%, which is fantastic. However, when we had the drops in the market back in February-March time, the fund had not recovered when I made the video at the end of June. It was still almost 14% down and it hadn't been performing that fantastically. Although this fund makes up just about 10% of my portfolio, it does throw off a fantastic dividend every quarter. The next fund I held was the S&P 500 ETF, which is ticker symbol VUSA. I explained in my last video that originally this was my main fund that I invested in every single month. I love the S&P 500 fund with Vanguard. Reason being is it has a low ongoing charge of just 0.07%. The American market has grown fantastically over the last 10 years. However, of course, please do note past performance isn't an indicator for future performance. And finally, although it's 500 of the largest companies in America, it is still quite worldwide diversified really, because some of those companies are companies such as Amazon, Google, Microsoft and Facebook who operate all around the world. This fund makes up about 35% or so of my whole portfolio, so I do have a very large sum of money in this fund. Overall, at last update it was 1.76% up. The next fund I held was the FTSE All World ETF, which is VWRL. This was now my new main fund. The reason that I moved over was simply it is even more diversified. It has over 3,000 stocks. It is diversified all around the world and it just gives me even more of a safety blanket. I probably would have been fine just staying in the S&P 500 fund. However, now I'm putting in quite serious amounts of money. I just wanted to diversify it even more. That fund at the last update was 20.62% up. The reason for the big increase was I actually invested quite a large amount on what happened to be the lowest day in the market, the 23rd of March 2020. This was pure luck and no skill involved, I'm not going to lie to you, and it was because I was using up the remainder of my ISA allowance before the end of the tax year. This has provided me with an incredible return, which obviously I'm over the moon with. And then the final fund I held was the FTSE Developed World ETF VEVE. This fund I explained in my last video I had sold. This was the amount of sort of change, so to speak, of the fund that I had left, and it had currently made a loss. I was sort of planning on holding on to it until it was back in the green, and then I was going to sell it anyway. So let's now have a look and see how quarter 3 has gone. So quarter 3 is from the 27th of June 20 to the 30th of September 20. First of all, my cash during that time had made me 0%. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I've got no idea how Vanguard worked this out. I definitely had some cash in my account during that time. Maybe it was a fact it wasn't in there long enough. I do try and get the cash invested into funds as soon as possible so that obviously it's got more potential of growth. Next up was my emerging markets accumulation fund. That had made me 3.94%. Next up was my FTSE All World High Dividend Yield ETF, VHYL. That had made a further loss of 0.83%. That fund is doing awful. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about it. I think I'll probably hold on to it and play the real long game. It's still throwing off a fantastic dividend. I'm actually making this video slightly late in October and I've just received my dividends a couple of days ago. I chose to not reinvest that dividend and put it into a completely new fund. I'm not going to go into detail in today's video as obviously that'll be an update for the quarter 4 video, so don't forget to hit subscribe if you want to see what fund I've bought now. Next up is my S&P 500 ETF VUSA. During the last quarter it made me 6.08%. It's a really fantastic fund. Next up was VWRL. During that time you can see that I made 4.5%. It's not quite as fast as what VUSA grew, however it's still been a great return. And then finally was my FTSE Developed World ETF VEVE. During this period I actually made 0% as I sold the whole lot. So my rate of return for quarter 3 was 4.92% in total, which I am really happy with. To earn almost 5% in 3 months is obviously quite impressive. Of course I might earn 5% this quarter, but who knows what's going to happen next quarter. This is a risk we take when we're investing in the stock market. But let's now take a look at the total rate of return I've made since I started my portfolio. So as you know, I'm confused as you are about this amount. I've made 1.71% from the amount of cash I've held in my account. Who knows how, but happy days. Next up, in total, the emerging markets accumulation fund has made me 4.52%. Very happy with that. Next up was my All World High Dividend Yield ETF. That has made me in total a 13.96% loss. Next up was my S&P 500 ETF VUSA. That has made me 8.73% gain. Next is my current main fund, so to speak, which is VWRL. That has made me 21.79%. I do keep quite a large amount in this one fund alone, so the returns have been really impressive. And then VEVE, during the whole time it worked out that I'd made a 1.08% loss. As I said, that was only ever a bit of change from a fund I used to hold that I'd actually sold, so I'm not so fussed about that. It was a tiny amount of a few pence, I think. So therefore my total rate of return on my portfolio as of the 30th of September 2020 was 16.67%, which is incredible. I am so super chuffed. Bear in mind this is just over a year. So there was the quarter 3 update. As I said, I have started purchasing into a new fund completely, which is going to be revealed in my quarter 4 update. So please do hit the subscribe button below if you'd like to check out that video when it releases. I share loads more content on this channel. I talk about investing, I talk about buy-to-let properties. I'm sure there's lots more videos that you may find helpful. So please do go and check out my channel and see if there's anything you would like to watch. Take care, guys.